Well, hello, welcome to One Man's Faith today. My name is Neal Owen, and we're going to get right into the Word of God and just see what it has to say to us. Now, we've been kind of, as we've been doing, marching through the Old Testament. Hey, we are up to Proverbs again. I think we were last week, too. Well, we talked a little bit about Psalms. Actually, I think we talked about First Kings because we talked about Solomon. And then we jumped into Proverbs and looked at kind of an outline of Proverbs, and especially the first 9 chapters that are different from Proverbs. We're used to like two sentence Proverbs. Well, the first 9 chapters of Proverbs is not set up that way. As a matter of fact, I don't even have that in my notes for today, but it helps to kind of preview or review what we're talking about. But Proverbs chapters 1 through 9 has 9, 10, 11 sections, and it starts this way. It'll start something like this. Hear, my son, your father's instructions, and do not forsake your mother's teachings. So there are 9 or 10 sections in chapters 1 through 9 that deal with why we should listen to our, if I can say this, our parents' teaching. So often we think that we are a lot smarter than our parents are. Well, that ain't quite true. Just experience-wise, from having lived as long as your parents have, they've been around the block several times, where you probably haven't been. So it's kind of good to hear. And he tells us here why. He says, indeed, your parents' teachings, this is verse 9 of chapter 1, are a graceful wreath around your neck and ornaments around, graceful wreath around your head and ornaments around your neck. My son, if sin entices you, do not consent. And so there's a lot of good stuff here about wisdom and how we can apply it. And so I just want to encourage you, just read over those first 9 chapters. Because chapter 10 actually says the Proverbs of Solomon. So that's where we start seeing the Lord will not allow the righteous to hunger, but he will thrust aside the craving of the wicked. They're like 2-sentence Proverbs starting in chapter 10. But before then, it's instruction on why we should listen to those that are over us. And so that's an important thing to understand about Proverbs. Today, I want to go to Proverbs chapter 30. We'll start there. That'll be our jumping off point. Proverbs chapter 30 is interesting. It says, the words of Agur, the son of Jakeh, the oracle. The man declares to Ithiel and Ucal. That sounds a little strange, but we'll go over that in just a second. Verse 2, surely I am more stupid than any man, and I do not have the understanding of a man, neither have I learned wisdom, nor do I have the knowledge of the Holy One. Who has ascended into heaven and descended? Who has gathered the winds in his fist? Who has wrapped the waters in his garments? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What is his name and his son's name? Surely you know. The words here, even though they're translated like proper names, probably fall more into the line of this. Now I'm going to read to you from what's called the International Standard Version, okay? I'm going to read to you the same thing from that version. A discourse to the faithful collector. This is what this valiant man declared to the God with me. Okay, change. To the God with me, who then prevailed. Surely I am beyond the senselessness of any man. I do not perceive things the way human beings do. I never acquired wisdom, but I know what the Holy One knows. Who has ascended to heaven and then descended? Who has collected the winds in his hands? Who has wrapped up waters in a garment? Who has established all the farthest points to the earth? What is his name? And what is his son's name? Surely you know. It's interesting because the Hebrew can be translated that way. It is sometimes hard to tell the difference between what are called proper names, like Agar or Agur. It's A-G-U-R. It's hard to tell the difference between what is a proper name and what is a normal noun. There is no capital letters to put to proper nouns in the Hebrew. And so the term Agar means words of a gatherer. We can say the words of a gatherer, the son of the pious, instead of the words of Agur, the son of Jakeh. Because of the way the Hebrew is. Ithiel means God is with me. And so when he says a man declares to Ithiel and Ucal means is able. So what we have here is this is what this valiant man declares to the God with me, who then prevailed or was able. So that's a little bit of the difference in how we translate the Hebrew. Now, the version I use tries to get as close to the original meaning as possible, but it sometimes goes by what other translators and commentators say. And so my version that I use said, let me go back to it again. The words of Agur, the sons of Jakeh. But that can really be a discourse by the faithful collector. This is what this valiant man declared to the God with me, who then prevailed. So it just adds a little bit to understand what the actual wording is. He says, listen, I'm not sure. I don't have all the knowledge. And I like these comparisons. Who has ascended into heaven and then descended? Nobody. Not into and out of. Out of and into, Jesus did. So it could be him. Who has collected the winds in his hand? Well, I don't think anybody has. Who has wrapped up the waters in a garment? Have you ever tried to collect water in a garment? Like if I took my shirt off and tried to collect water, the water would seep through. So you can't really collect water with a garment. Who has established all the furthest points of the earth? God did. What is his name? And what is his son's name? This is all about, and most of Proverbs is about wisdom. And even some of the other writings of Solomon are about wisdom. As a matter of fact, he says, and this is a famous quote that we've heard in Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 2, "Vanities of vanities," says the preacher, "vanities of vanities, all is vanity." Or another translation of that would be, everything is meaningless. Completely meaningless. And I like how the Message puts that. It says, smoke, nothing but smoke. Nothing but smoke. There's nothing to anything. It's all smoke. It doesn't last. It doesn't stay. It's like smoke. It drifts with the wind. It'll fog up things. It'll keep you from seeing any kind of a distance. Matter of fact, I went up to Big Bear. Yeah. In California for a wedding. It was 70 degrees here when we left. It was 50 degrees and cloud, drizzling, and they were calling for snow later. And so we were driving through those narrow, winding roads up there going toward Big Bear in this cloud. I mean, fog is what we sometimes would call it, but I mean, it was a cloud. You could see it as you climbed up, and you actually climbed into the bottom of it, then got up into it. It's smoke. It's like smoke. You can't see. Matter of fact, you couldn't see over 30 or 40 feet in front of you. And that's the way smoke is. It just clouds up everything. So smoke, everything is smoke, is what Solomon says in Ecclesiastes. But then he goes on, and he starts to explain what he means. What advantage does a man have in all his work which he does under the sun? And this is Ecclesiastes 1, starting with verse 3. A generation goes, a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. Also the sun rises and the sun sets, and hastening to its place, it rises there again. Blowing toward the south, then turning toward the north, the wind continues swirling along, and we see that a lot here, don't we? And on its circular course, the wind returns. All the rivers flow to the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, there they flow again. He's going someplace with this, and we'll see where that place is when we come back. We've got to take a break. So get a cup of coffee, and I'll be right back.